Motion to start the meeting.
Make a motion to start the meeting.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
To start off, I'd like to, this is a historic meeting of the first or ever Military Affairs Working Group meeting, and I sure appreciate the speaker for allowing us to do this, continue this work. We did a lot of work, I think, over the summer, and I really appreciate every single member. We did a lot of driving all over Georgia, and I think we did a lot of important work. Hello? Okay, and I appreciate every one of you. Let's start with a prayer. Representative Clanton, please. Sorry.
Okay. Let us pray. Most heavenly, gracious God, we just come before you in this hour, in this second that only you could have granted us. Well, Father, just thanking you for once again giving us an opportunity to come together, to look out for our military families, our military installations, and just the national security of this great country. And Father, we pray your special blessings over the leadership of this committee, as well as those individuals that serve and those who will help us as partners in the community. We pray these things and all things in the mighty and unmatched name of Jesus Christ, and those who believe said.
Amen. Thank you, Representative Clanton. I'm going to just start. Some of y'all have been to some of our meetings, but most of you have not. So I'm just going to start with this little rigmarole I say every time. I know that my members are tired of hearing it, but I think it's important that you hear it, the people out there in the audience. There's nothing our government does that's more important than our common defense. I've had the honor of serving my country both in the Navy and the Air Force almost 23 years, and consider that service to be the most important in my life. The purpose of this committee is to serve as a forum for state legislators working with the governor's office and our federal congressional delegation to find ways to improve the military value of our bases, expand economic opportunities, and ensure that Georgia remains the very best state for our warfighters and our veterans to live and thrive. The effort is completely bipartisan and is centered on Georgia as a whole and not any particular base. I'd like to briefly, this is the first meeting ever, identify my committee members who were here, who were on the committee. The first one is Representative Richard Smith, the chairman of the Insurance Committee. I don't think he's here right now. I know he was coming later. He's the co-chairman for the Fort Benning site. We also have Representative Calvin Smyre of Columbus, Georgia. I don't think he's here either. He's the dean of the course of People's House of Georgia. He's also the co-chairman of the Fort Benning site. We have Representative Bill Hitchens, his Savannah, my personal hero. He's the chairman of Veterans Affairs and then site chairman of, he's a retired Marine Corps Vietnam veteran and the first ever director of the Georgia Office of Homeland Security. Thank you for being here, Chairman Hitchens. Representative Al Williams of Midway. I guess he's, sorry, right there, sorry, in front of me. The best looking man up here, site chairman for the Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield, and also a Vietnam War veteran. We have a Representative Brian Prince of Augusta, site chairman of Fort Gordon, retired United States Army Colonel. Thank you for your service, sir. He's not here right now. Representative Shaw Blackman of Warner Robins, chairman of the Robins Air Force Base. Thank you for being here, Mr. Blackman. Representative John Corbett of Lake Park, site chairman for Moody Air Force Base. Thank you for being here, sir. We have Representative Keith Clark of Warner Robins, who actually works on Warner Robins. He has a lot of invaluable things to share with us. Representative Daryl Elam, a retired Marine Corps veteran as well. Thank you for your service, sir. Did I leave anybody out? Okay, I think that's all. Very briefly, the reason I'm so passionate about this subject is because I'm actually from Charleston, South Carolina. And Charleston, South Carolina, when I was young, my daddy was a submarine officer, and he piloted submarines for his career. And after he retired, Charleston Navy Base was closed by a BRAC. And it was a base that had been there since the Revolutionary War. You know, Colonel Moultrie was able to defend it against the British Empire, but the mayor of Charleston was not able to defend it against the Pentagon. So we don't want to lose any bases here in Georgia. We've learned a lot on this committee, and just for the people in the audience, the military, believe it or not, is a $20 billion economic development. $20 billion. Over 150,000 direct employees, almost 1/3 indirect employees. It's hard to believe that 1 in 10 Georgians, a million Georgians, are affiliated with the military. So it's a big deal. Now, in general, BRAC has been good to Georgia. We've not lost a lot of bases, but the last BRAC, 2005, we lost 4 bases. It was Fort Gillem, Fort McPherson, Navy Atlanta, and Navy Athens. We also got a little bit of a bonus because we had some soldiers go to Fort Benning. However, just this year, Fort Benning lost about how much, Chairman? It was about 1,500 soldiers to the tune of about $1/3 billion, which is a lot of money. And they're scheduled to lose $1.4 billion economic development if the climate does not change. So that's why we're here. The idea is we're trying to protect Georgia's bases, not just because we love our military, and we do love our military, but also because of the economic impact. I know we had an election, and I'm not going to comment on that, except for the fact that a lot of people I've heard say, well, now that the elections happened, we're not going to be closing any bases because the new administration is going to add stuff to the military. And I completely agree, we are going to beef up the military. But there's a lot of folks out there, I got this report right here, Business Reform in the Department of Defense report to the president. And I'll just give you a quote here. They advise the president to eliminate excess military infrastructure. The military is saying they have 22% too much infrastructure, and they want to get rid of it, the excess infrastructure. They're thinking they can save about $2 billion a year by doing so. So even though, Chairman Spahn, are you going up here with this? And certainly welcome the Dean, People's House of Georgia. Thank you, sir. And Chairman Smith, thank you for being here, sir. They said that they want to eliminate excess infrastructure and to save billions of dollars without degrading the readiness and capability of U.S. forces. So even though we're probably going to be expanding the military, the idea that big pharma, they like to consolidate. Big banks, they consolidate. Big airlines, they consolidate. The new administration is a business-oriented administration, and big business likes to consolidate. So it's very, very likely that even though we have a beef up of the military, that we could actually lose bases in the same time. So that's why I think this work is, the Speaker thinks this work is so important, and that's why we're here today. I'd like to first again, thank you for being here. We want to vote on the new rules for the coming. In your package, you see a piece of paper that looks like this. Did everybody see this? You'll have a short time to look at that. Any comments from the committee? Okay, I have a recommendation to do pass in a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, these are the new work group rules. Thank you very much, sir. The next thing on the agenda is installation chairman. Chairman Hitchens thinks he can does not want to do the Kings Bay chairmanship anymore because of his new duties with Veterans Affairs. So I'm going to appoint John Corbett to be the new chairman for Kings Bay, Georgia. I'm also going to appoint Representative Darrell Elam to be the new chairman for Marine Corps Albany, since Chairman Reinders has left the committee. Installation visits. We like to do invite resolution and meetings for different bases. So what the idea is, we want to do a meeting, a group of for the base to come to the Capitol on different days. On the February the 1st, Representative Corbett?
Yes, Chairman Belton, I have a conflict on February the 1st. The colonel from Moody cannot make it, so he's supposed to give me a couple dates that will work with him. So February the first is out, so I'll get back with you on that date.
Okay. The idea is that we want 4 of the bases to come to the Capitol and present, come to the committee and talk to the committee, and also we're going to do some invite resolutions for those 4 bases to honor not only the bases, but also a couple of the different heroes on that base. So we have Moody's going to come this year, Gordon, Representative Brian Prince, is he here today? Okay, Brian Prince has said he would also like to come probably on the February the 1st as well. So that might work out better if you're not going to do it. Representative Williams?
Question on the, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that you said Representative Prince would like to do it on the first. Have these folks agreed to these dates yet? Just curious.
Representative Prince would like February the 1st.
Okay, but the question is, has the post agreed? The commander at Fort Gordon has agreed to the 1st of February?
He's working on that date right now.
Okay, that's what I was wondering when you say working. And I see you shaking. Has the general agreed? Because I got a lot of experience with these invites. I've done Afghanistan, Iraq on several occasions, and I promise you, the Army can't do nothing by February 1st. Not any of them. I hadn't seen a general yet can arrange a helicopter. Because, I mean, it's just a cumbersome thing, and I'd requested Fort Stewart, but I would really put me mid-March late session, because I have not seen a 2-week turnaround or anything. They just don't operate like that, because they will call you the day before and want to know the exact minute that the helicopter lights, and can you have somebody there to say hey to us? I mean, I hope that's true, but I know my command can't, and I have a major command, and a major command can't turn around in 2 weeks. They can't do it.
Thank you, Representative Williams. I'm not asking that everyone come the 1st. I'm asking for this base to come the 1st. So Fort Gordon, it wants to do the 1st of February. I need one more base to Robins Air Force Base. Representative Blackman, have you got a date yet for us?
No, sir, we're waiting on it, but I will tell you that having spoke to General Levy, he's ready to accommodate whatever date we are able to assign.
Okay, so what I'm asking is for Representative Blackman to get a date for Robins Air Force Base, and he'll work on that. I need one more base to come up to volunteer for this year, to not the 1st of February, but a date sometime in the future this year to host the base. Does that make sense?
Remember, I said that Fort Stewart would come months ago. And I thought that we kind of put us aside, but I definitely don't want February. Can you do March?
Of course.
I think they're waiting, but here's where I got crossed up, and even our local committees don't understand the government. They're waiting to hear from us, but I'm not being facetious, but it is very difficult to, if you give the go-ahead, and that's what I've been waiting on, I'll ask Fort Stewart to pick a date now, because they like to do the picking. And I don't know how General Levy works down there, but ain't no military installation, because we got deployments, and my man could be in Iraq, and he'll look at his schedule because he's at the Pentagon often, and they have to pick a date. And if you say you want somebody in March, because they wouldn't give me a date at the at Chairman Benton, because I think we're all waiting here, but I'd like for Fort Stewart to be included, because my entire community is planning on coming. We do it every year, and if you give me a date in March, or say March is good, I'll ask the general to pick a date.
Okay, Representative Williams, so what I'll say is that I'll give you March. So just you pick a date, and you tell me what that date is, and then we'll figure it out. How about that for that?
I'll see that the general picks a date. I promise you I can't for that 2-star.
Okay. Thank you, Representative Williams. And so what I've got right now is Moody, Gordon, Robbins, and Stewart. Representative Blackman?
I was just going to offer Representative Williams, if you'd like to discuss after the meeting, I maybe have some notes that I could share with you that might help what we've done and kind of the process that we've taken to kind of move that along. I understand your position, and I'd be happy to help.
I understand. What I'm saying is, I have done it so many times.
Yes, sir.
I have the only general that has done an address to the joint House and Senate.
Yes, sir.
And we've done it many, many times. And believe me, it's no walk in the park with the Army. It's not hard. Last year, our general addressed us from Afghanistan, video. You know, so we've done it many times. I don't have a problem with, but I need to get the go-ahead. That's why I asked back in October, can we come? And I'm just saying, I understand the process, and we can do it.
I was just going to tell
Now
you how we went about it. That's all.
Okay, I've done it
Yes,
so
sir.
many times. I know the process. I really do. But I appreciate your help. And
Well, we submitted to Chairman Benton, and we're waiting on dates from him. So
I
that's
did
the way
that
we did.
first day of the session. I
Yes, sir.
submitted it, and he's waiting on this committee. That's what he told me. You
Okay.
know, that's what he's waiting on.
That's not the word we got, but
Okay. Thank you much, Representative Williams. So if you would, I appreciate you volunteering for it to be the fourth base, and you give me a date, and we'll work on that date. And again, we have Moody, Gordon, Robbins, and Stewart. Next year, we'll have the other 5 bases. We wanted them to also come, so they'll have obviously a little bit more time to coordinate that. Any questions about that? The next on the agenda items, I want you to be aware the Georgia National Guard Day is going to be the 13th of February. See Miss Bollinger back there. Sure appreciate that. I want you all to be aware that's going to happen. I'll do an invite resolution for the Guard. I've been honored to do that. I sure appreciate it, Miss Bollinger. And just want you to be aware of that. The other thing I want you to be aware of is that we're going to have a meeting with the combined military affairs coordinators from the University System of Georgia and the Technical College System of Georgia around the week of Valentine's Day. So all those military affairs committees, the one thing I just for the audience, we heard over and over again is the military bases want better education, specifically K-12 education for Georgia. They feel like that Georgia's K-12 education is the biggest detriment to Georgia keeping its military bases. However, the TCSG and the USG system is doing very well, actually. We've got a lot of awards from, for example, Savannah Tech is the very best military affairs college in America, believe it or not. I think it was Wiregrass did very well, Gwinnett Tech did very well, Central Georgia did very well. On the university side, the University of North Georgia, of course, does very well. University of Georgia, Augusta University did very well. So we got a lot of good things that are going on in the university system, higher education. I'm hoping that we can do more of that work and push it down to the K-12 level. And that's why we're going to have that joint meeting. Any questions about that? All right. Number 8 item is members' bills. So my understanding is that we are going to be hearing bills. The governor is going to give bills to us to work on. But I'd like to hear from the members of the committee of different things that they're working on. Chairman Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. We talked a lot since we started having these meetings about exempting military retirement income from state income tax. I've got the opinion letter from the Legislative Council that says we cannot do that. And I think I have enough copies for everybody. And basically, there was a court case, I think it was a federal court case, and what the judge said was that you cannot cherry pick one group out of the federal government and give them an exemption. You have to do all federal retirees. And then he made it even more expensive for the state. He said if you do it for the federal government, you also have to do it for state retirees. So, you know, but this is the opinion letter from Rick Ruskell as it relates to that lawsuit. At one time, state employees didn't have to pay state income tax. And also because of a court case, you know, they say, well, if you do it for state employees, you gotta do it for federal. So that's the reason, a lot of this has gone down, and, how these other states are getting around that particular issue, it may be just because of Georgia's constitution and the court cases it applied directly to Georgia. The other states may not, somebody may not have challenged it, but that's the opinion from Legislative Council as it relates to, exemption of the retirement income.
So my understanding, Chairman, is we're not going to go further down that road. Do you feel like that's?
I'd already had it, in the process, and, we're gonna continue to look to see how these other states are doing it, to see if we can, adapt our system to that. But as it now stands, you know, it's pretty much dead until we can figure out a new way to do it.
Thank you, Chairman. Representative William Elam.
You actually closed there, Chairman Smith, is what my question was. There are we all know there are a number of states that are doing this, and so it sure would be nice to know how they're doing it. Are they doing it at a great expense, or covering all these people? But, gosh, I would like very much, and you and I personally discussed it, that we could move with this. Make them tell us no. So this is definitive, then they're just saying,
Legislative Council saying we can't do it.
and they can't research what other states, okay.
Well, we're gonna be continuing to research, see if we can find some way to do it, but as it now stands, based on that legal opinion, we cannot.
Okay, so let's leave it right there at this point. Dean Smyrie?
I was just gonna say, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I wanna applaud, Chairman Smith. We've been looking at this for a long time, and, those of us who have, especially on the borderline, such as, Columbus, we're on the Alabama line, and, Alabama has done this. And we've seen a lot of movement of retirees moving to Alabama and retiring there. So this would be a great initiative for the state of Georgia. In light of that, you know, if you broaden it, we already know that this is about $150 million plug number. That if we do this for this sector, and then if we can't stop there and we have to do it for other sectors, we know it would just be counterproductive in regards to the fact that finding $150 cash in our state budget is almost an impossible task. So we would have to do a scale in of some sort, because to try to bite a plug number for $150 million cash in one budgetary cycle would be very, very difficult to do. But at the same line, I think this is we just need to continue to kind of look at it. But I applaud him because I know he's been working on this. In fact, I signed a bill with him 2 years ago to try to look at this issue and see how we could go about exempting the military retirees' retirement income. So I just wanted to add that and just thank him for his effort.
Thank you, Dean Smyrie. Chairman Hitchens?
And I talked about it once before. It's a real dichotomy for me in that I live on the border with South Carolina, and they have a 6% tax over there too. And they just incrementally put a system in. But you know, I was a state employee for 43 years, and I remember about 25 years ago when the court case here in Georgia was state employees. If you retired from the state, you were exempted from state taxes. And what happened was some federal employees sued, and the federal judge ruled that if they were going to do it for the state employees, they had to do it for the federal employees. So what they did was they took it away from everybody. And when I retired, they gave me like $120 a month extra to compensate for that adjustment that occurred 25 years ago. So it doesn't make good sense, though, to me why one state can do it and others can't. Now, a lot of them, like Tennessee and Florida, don't have any state income tax, so it's easy for them. But you know, I think South Carolina's got an income tax. Yeah.
Okay, well, if anyone wants to go down that road and see what the other states, how they're getting around this, that'd be good. I know Chairman Smith wants to carry this bill if it does go forward, but if anyone can find out why the other states can do that, we can't, that'd be good. Are there any other bills that any representatives want to talk about? I'm also talking about the Representative Heath Clark.
Not necessarily, well, maybe a bill idea, but also on that number 7 agenda item, in Warner Robins, we have something called the Vector Center, which is a partnership between the university system and the technical college system of Georgia. I know that was something that Representative Blackman worked really hard to get off the ground. And they have reached out to me and said that they're willing to come up here anytime that we have a meeting and kind of explain what they're doing and how they're trying to help veterans in the state of Georgia. So I would like to know as soon as you know the day that we're going to do that, so I can give them an invite as well if the committee so wills. But then also on top of that, dealing with the university system of Georgia, I know one of our items that we had put in our report was, this thing keeps going out, that we had put in our report was to come up with maybe service cancelable loans for STEM students who work at one of our defense installations. And if the committee is willing to stand behind that and work with that, I'm willing to work and carry that piece of legislation forward and work with legislative council to get that drafted.
Chairman Hitchens. I'm sorry, Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On your opening statement, and I certainly agree with most of what you've said, I think, though, that this is probably the most important time in the world for this committee's work, because in case we forget, Boeing is a major defense contractor, and they were already hit because of what we call excessive costs. Same thing's going to happen at Lockheed and most of the other builders. So I think that you're going to see an excess capacity really be worked on. So I don't think Lockheed nor Boeing is too happy with what's going on. And all the generals, I don't know how the generals in your areas are, but the generals I've talked to all agree we got the best Army and Air Force we've ever had. And the only people that have really said they're kind of dated are the Navy, and we hadn't got any boats except for the submarines, and they're well set. But here in Georgia, there might be some areas. But I think we have to be very careful because of excess capacity alone. We should work harder than ever.
I agree with Representative Williams, and if you've been following the press on the national level, there's been a lot of hits on Lockheed, actually. Lockheed, of course, is Dobbins. Dobbins, it's a $500 million a year, Dobbins, Lockheed, and they're building the F-35. And if the F-35 was to not be built anymore, that'd be a huge $500 million hit to Georgia, just for sure. So I definitely agree. There's a lot of work to be done, and we can't rest on our laurels. Another thing we talked about is I'm really going to be asking if we can go to the Washington D.C. to lobby our federal delegation up there and make a statement to that. Any other bill ideas before we move on? I'd like to talk about the fact that we talked about K-12 education quite a bit, and I've talked to the governor's office and to the Chairman England about the K-12 education, and I really do want to have a discussion today about this. I don't believe we're going to get any FTE money for military children. That's the response I'm getting from all quarters, is that the budget's kind of set where it is, and we're probably not going to get more money for per child FTE like we had talked, like we had hoped. I am pursuing the idea of adding counselors. Well, it's true that a military child is 3 times more likely to have behavior issues or mental issues because of the fact that they move around so often, move every 2 years, and also because of the fact that their mother or father is away for a year at a time. So we're talking about the idea of adding counselors per school if the school has more than like 10% military children. Like if the school had 10%, you'd have 1 counselor. If you had 20%, you have 2 counselors. Any discussion on that idea from from the committee right now. Representative Williams.
Sir, I'd like to recommend that we have a counselor and representative of the school board from Liberty County. We have the highest percentage of active duty military students in Georgia of all the posts. And I think we need to look at what is happening and how this correlates, because when you've got 70%, that's direct impact. And I think we need to find out what's happening now. We have elementary and middle schools on posts. They build them a lot of places, but the only place that they don't build is high school. But I would like to hear from our counselors in the system now and the impact, because they'll have a record of problems that come through.
Okay, well, we'll be doing that, and one of the, hopefully, committee meetings we'll have will be about K-12 education with counselors, with K-12, and hopefully, possibly, when your people come from Fort Stewart, Representative Williams, or the other bases, that they can talk to this issue. Is there any, just from the committee, any feedback negatively against that idea? Representative Clark?
Do we have any kind of cost, what that would cost to do that?
It would be a lot less. You know, it'd be within the $100,000, a couple $100,000 probably. It would be much, much, much less than we're talking about before.
Okay.
But I have gotten, I've requested an economic figure, and I've not gotten that yet back. That's a good question. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I don't want to, Representative Elam?
Just concerning K-12.
Yeah.
I talked to Representative Al Williams about this, and he gave me his opinion. And so I don't want to get any kind of discussion about that. But I would like to put back on the table the concept that we initiated at the Marine Base in Albany about where our 3 surrounding counties all did open enrollment for our Marine dependents. And so now if we have a military personnel coming in and they're assigned to the base, doesn't matter if they're aboard the base or not, they get a chance to select which school system they want to attend. And so I know there's some difficulty with that, and I just want to put the idea back on the table, because I've already gotten some kickback there from Representative Williams, and so just put it on the table, that's all, okay?
Right. And I love the idea personally, but I have gotten a lot of kickback as well. And I think what we're going to end up doing is making a resolution to support that, but I don't think the committee is willing to require school boards to do this. Is that what I'm getting from committee members? Urging resolution, I think, is what we're talking about. And I think, to be honest with you, I mean, we're all about local control. Most of us are about local control. So we hate to go tell the the school boards what they have to do. But I think we should do an urging resolution that they do this, and then we should work with those different local school boards to encourage it. And possibly this, when we go to these, hopefully we're going to do another round of bases, visits this summer, and make sure the school board is part of that visit, and make sure we can talk to them personally about that. Because what I'm saying is that, I know there are difficulties for the school board of doing this, but would you rather lose all those military children? Lose the $1.5 billion impact or whatever it is, different bases, or would you rather, suffer a little bit of, not suffer really, but, create the school choice situation at that school? Any other discussion on that? Just for the audience, I want you to know that we did have final reports. It's about 20 pages long, 24 pages long. I think there's a lot of really good information in there for the, and I also like to, just very briefly, are there any comments from the floor, just very briefly? Okay, well, I don't want to again, overextend this committee, so we'll just go ahead and close it out. But I do want to, we are going to have bills given to us by the speaker, and we'll probably try to meet fairly regularly, but we're not going to meet if there's nothing to do, kind of thing. And again, I want, the four big meetings, I hope the committee will be the when the four different bases come to the committee and talk about their needs and desires and whatnot. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn, please? All in favor, say aye. Thank you very much.